Hi, I'm James Lamont, Director of the Vadine Center for Rural Economic Development at the University of Minnesota at Crookston. Today we're going to talk about the future of ag transportation within our supply chain series. Supply chains have frequently changed over the last several hundred years. This is due to maritime shipping, land bridges, as well as modernization efforts such as intermodal, as well as how trains and airplanes are moving products across the nation and subsequently the globe. Simultaneous to that, incomes as well as diets are changing as well. We're going to focus on the changes that we're seeing locally so that you can understand, as farmers, producers, or processors, what impacts these have on your respective operations. First, I'd like to talk about consumption. Consumption patterns within urban areas are starting to focus very much on local. As a result, we're seeing a lot of hydroponic, bioplastic, as well as vertical farming integration within urban centers across the country. Naturally, this produces something that enables local urban dwellers to consume foods that are produced within, say, a 50-mile radius. Simultaneous to that, we're observing major advances in desert agriculture, seawater farming, in addition to all types of GMOs to support the burgeoning middle classes within the developing world, as well as a large growing population. As a result, as farmers, producers, and processors in the upper Midwest, you kind of need to think through what the future looks like with respect to ag transport. This is a depiction of kind of what we've evolved into since the 1970s. With a rapidly evolving demand and consumer palate changes, as well as protectionism, and now environmental, social, and corporate governance, we are starting to see a major transformation in terms of how our goods are processed and produced, as well as shipped across the world. This is augmented by the advent of autonomy and integration within agricultural systems across the globe as well. As you can see on this chart, we used to use sort of traditional planes, trains, and maritime vehicles in order to move our products. This grew as a consequence of more capable supermaxes and other maritime shipping containers, and it continues to grow into something to the effect of holding 22,000 TEUs or 20-foot equivalent units as they move our product across the globe. Connect that with identity preservation, and suddenly you find to be globally competitive, you need to have access to inexpensively priced rail, but also identity preservation so that buyers in countries like Japan, Europe, and other growing economies know exactly where their products came from to ensure the quality and the fact that it wasn't mixed with other products. As a result, within the space of identity preservation, with intermodal, that transition is occurring especially in food grade consumption, whether it be pulses, grains, soy, or other markets. This is a depiction more or less on how the industry is changing to reflect the bifurcation, if you will, into identity preservation for advancing economies, and then the natural sort of consequence of just kind of mixing products for either animal proteins and or food that went to the developing world. In addition to this, we're starting to see sort of a systemic or systems level thought process with respect to how transportation is being implemented across the globe. This includes a number of implications from policy with respect to carbon emissions, finance with respect to the investments that nation states are making, economics, again, the supply demand differentials that are occurring as a result of growing middle classes, technological upgrades, that's autonomy, as well as blockchain and other sophisticated and complex environments, demography shifting to the east, if you will, and then naturally consequences of the energy platforms that are being used to grow, move, and subsequently sell our products. So, what can you do? Think about it from the aggregate perspective of blockchain is going to be critical because of identity preservation. People are going to want to know where their food came from. Also, intermodal and transloading, again, a mechanism that enables people to continue to trace where their food's coming from. And then last but not least, you're going to want to kind of look at this tectonic shift in terms of who's buying what and think about how you're going to want to invest in the future to ensure that you meet global demand and standards. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in our next version of the Supply Chain Series.